Hey, hey, hey.
What's going on, Dr. Tiff?
Just Tuesdaying over here. That's pretty much it. How about you?
Yeah, same. I look forward to these Tuesdays now.
Me too. Several people have asked me, like, okay, how do you do like your full time job? You teach your graduate course on Mondays, you got your riot stuff, you do all these things, and you do Tuesday talks, but this isn't like work. I love it. So it doesn't feel like work. You know what I mean?
Same. It doesn't. It's like, well, people don't know. Like, we had conversations before we even started this Tuesday talk anyway. So it's just kind of like we're doing what we've been doing. Now you guys are invited to join in.
Exactly. So I always love meeting up and chatting so we can get some input from the people who are watching, listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I know for me, we're now like a couple weeks in for school and things have been going fairly well. I know, the first week or so is pretty easy peasy. In fact, my son was like, oh, he's going to a new school. So he's like, I like this school. We don't do much work. And I was like, oh, it's just the first few days.
Right.
There will be a shift. So
Exactly.
we'll see how the momentum carries after the shift happens. What about you and I like to call them moody middle schoolers because that's just been my own personal experience with that age group. So
Oh,
what are your
geez.
middle schoolers?
As accurate as that is, because they are middle school age is just a wave of constant wave of emotion. There is no calm. So they're going okay, just like you. So we've at this point been in for a week and a day. Had a weather day. It mixed in there. So 5 days technically. And so we've gotten past all right, it's the beginning. I'm getting to know you. You're getting to know me. Now get to know the real me, right? let's
Mhm.
let's learn this math. So they are they're trying to adjust. Like now I'm just kind of in like my little zone or whatever, but now they're trying to adjust because the math has hit and we know what we don't know and we don't like that we don't know it.
Do you do all the grades in middle school?
No.
No,
Just eighth grade. Just
just
eighth grade.
okay.
Yes, coming from a high school background, I had to get the oldest set in this range.
That makes sense. You need them like as close to that high school maturity level as possible yeah, I get it. That makes sense
Yes.
for sure. Well, I know recently you did a nice workshop for the teachers in your district, which is very exciting. Anytime me and Val get a chance to speak and tap into that gift that we have, we celebrate each other. So I know you got a chance to do that. So first, tell me what the topic was, and then how did it go?
Yes. So building relationships beyond the walls was the topic. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's all about building those relationships with your students. But when you build relationships, you are not just focused on what do we have to do to get along in this classroom so that you can learn whatever academics I'm trying to teach you. Like, no. Okay, I'm all about the human in me is going to relate and recognize the human in you so that we can connect and we can move in the world together. And that's the beyond the walls part
Mm,
of the title. So we just talked about teacher mindset. I gave them an acronym and I'm going to give it to you guys because you guys are great supporters of Tuesday Talks. So the acronym is REAL, REAL. R is be relational. E is be engaging. A is be authentic. And L is be linguistic, all about communication, how
I
you
love
communicate with them.
I love that. So say it again for me, so people that are watching and listening can get it. R-E.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
R is be real, relational.
Uh-huh.
Yep. E is be engaging. Kids don't want to listen to nobody that's boring and monotone.
Exactly.
A, A is be authentic. Like, kids are the best at discerning whether you are being fake with them or you're being real with them. So be
Mhm.
authentic. And then L is be linguistic, meaning be very mindful and intentional about how you communicate with them and the things that you're saying.
I love that. There's so much to unpack there. So before we unpack all of that, what was the reaction or the reception to what you taught at the workshop from your teachers, fellow teachers?
Yeah. So the reaction from the teachers was what I was expecting. So my goal with this workshop was to provide perspective for the teachers and open them up a little bit so that maybe by the end I would have at least one person who would have a mindset shift.
Mhm.
So the system that I went into, they have a history of just the kids are kind of apathetic. And so, when the kids are apathetic, that is challenging for the adults. And sometimes you develop mindsets because of that that don't necessarily help the kids and help student achievement. So I went in with building relationships, this workshop, to help them like shift their mindset back to one where like teachers go into teaching because they're passionate about helping the kids and working with the youth to help them better. I wanted to take them back to what I'm hoping is their original intent for being a part of the profession.
I love that so much. And it makes me think about, so my brother, I've talked about him often on here. He teaches middle school. He's the PE teacher and he coaches several team sports at school. And he went to his assistant principal at the middle school and asked for some classroom management suggestions. Like it was his first year teaching. He went to her and asked, like, what can I do? And her response was, and he also asked her, like, could she come in the class and show him, not just tell him, but like, could she come in and show him? It's a first year teacher, and he didn't take the traditional route to get to the teaching field either. I should point that out. So yeah, he asked her that, and she said, "That's not my job."
The
That was
principal.
the assistant principal. That was her actual response. For her to come into his classroom and show him, she said, "That's not my job." And I think she gave him some tips or suggestions, but I was like, wow. So imagine if you came in and you have this zest for teaching, like you wanted these teachers to tap back into that initial purpose for entering the field. So first year teaching, you have that zest for it. You're reaching out to your administration to help you, and you're told that's not my job. Yikes. You want to talk about like passion killing, flame putter outer, like that's the quickest way to make somebody feel unsupported, not guided, and just ready to just be like, okay, whatever. I'll just make it work until I'm tired of doing that, and then move on to a different career.
And that's why in the education profession, like, it used to be half of the teachers would leave within like 5 years. And now it's more like it's higher. I don't want to give a number because I don't know exactly. I know it's higher though. I know it's
Yeah.
higher, and I know it's not 5 years anymore. It's 3 for sure
Wow.
within
Wow.
3 years. And I mean, it's because of situations like that. I There was a young teacher that I knew one of the years I was teaching who had, like you said, your brother, passionate, like didn't go to school for education, so non-traditional, but had that passion and that drive and felt like that calling to work with kids. And so tried a teaching job. She asked for help, very similar situation, asked for help, asked to go observe, asked for things to be modeled. And what she got in return was a lot of criticism, really. And calls into the office and consequences about what she was not able to do. It's
Oh,
very
wow.
sad. And she is not teaching anymore and doesn't want to teach anymore. And
Oh,
that's the worst part for me, because she would be an amazing teacher.
yeah. That sucks. I have friends who I know were amazing teachers and just felt like they didn't get that support with classroom management, and they were like, I can't. This is stressing me out. I can't deal with it." So I feel like if your workshop was available to them, then perhaps that could have given them somewhere to start, right?
Yeah.
Not just to the teachers, though. It also has to go to the powers that be, the higher ups as well. So then they understand the same information that you're getting as well. But I think it's so important. I know your acronym was REAL, relational, engaging, authentic, and linguistic. And I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think all of these might be challenging for some teachers, but that
Mhm.
relational piece, I feel like could be challenging for some teachers whose mindset is very much in this: I'm the teacher, you're the student, I say the thing to do, and you are supposed to do the thing that I say to do. No negotiation, no, going back and forth with me about what you think is right and wrong. Just hear the instruction, do the task, and then everybody's happy. So I feel like that relational piece could be the most challenging. So could you just dive into that component a little bit for us?
Yeah, so relational, some people might look at it and say, well, you're talking about building relationships. Obviously, is that really necessary to point out relational? And I think that a lot of people don't know what that means. Like, to be relational with people means that there's intention behind making a connection with the person. So if we think about relationships outside of this school context right now, um, you're probably friends with people because you and that person has something in common, and that's what originally connected you to them. And
Mhm.
so you started there, and then from that, the relationship began to grow. But for it to grow, you had to show interest in them, and they had to show interest in you. With our kids, they're like, kids are not different from adults in that sense. Like, people are people. They haven't been on earth as long, but even to little toddlers, like this, it's all about that relationship. Toddlers don't like people who they feel like don't like them, or who they feel like are ignoring them. Like, I'm not dealing with you, I'm gonna go to somebody else. As they get older, as we get older, that does not change. And as adults, we do the same thing. So being relational means you show an interest in the kid, and you find some sort of commonality with them. And I think in school it's even a little bit easier, because you have kids that are involved in extracurriculars. You got band, you got sports, you got art, you got music, you have all these other things. The kid that likes to doodle in class, like, obviously there's some type of drawing artistic interest there. You don't have to be interested in it. Just show you're interested in their interest in it.
Mhm.
So if you don't start there, then you're never gonna get a chance to enter into that kid's world. They're never gonna let you in.
Yeah, I really like the analogy that you use. Like, when you make connections with people, like your peers as an adult, you are looking for people who show an interest in what you're interested in, and you're showing an interest in things that interest them as well. And sometimes there's an overlap where you're both interested in the same types of things. Sometimes not, but you can still honor their interest by just asking those questions, just being inquisitive, just wanting to know a little bit more about it. So I feel like that same thing is true for the kids that we encounter day to day in the school. I know for me with speech therapy, one of the best relationships I had with the student, she was so quiet. It was virtual therapy, so we're doing it through the computer. She's at home because she's doing homeschool, and it was so hard to get her to talk. I mean, I tried everything, like the games on the screen. She was like fourth or fifth grade. she just was very soft spoken and just didn't have answered everything with like one or two words. And it wasn't because of a communication disorder, it was like just personality. And so I finally asked her, like, what, got her to tell me what she likes to do for fun. And she mentioned Minecraft. And Uriah wasn't born then. I had no knowledge of Minecraft at all. And once I asked her that, and since I didn't know anything about it, I don't have specific questions to ask about what you do in the game. I just asked some very general questions. And she opened up and turned into this new person that I had not met before, to the point of telling me, Miss Tiffany, hold on, and she's going to get her Minecraft magazine to open it up and show me. And while I was out at the grocery store, you get the checkout line, the little magazine rack. I see some Minecraft magazine. So I picked it up, it was a few bucks. And I just started to learn a little bit about what interested her. Now, of course, this is a one-on-one therapy situation. I didn't have 30 kids looking at me all at once with varied interests. But I think it goes a long way to talk about how you can just show interest in what they're interested in the sense of just asking a general question. You don't have to go super deep, but that one question you ask to just inquire about their interests, it could mean a lot. And it could really open them up to show you a different side of them too.
Absolutely. And so, like, one of the things that I do on the first couple of days, is ask them questions that will help them, one, be comfortable and open up. So one of my favorite questions is, and I'm going to ask you, Dr. Tiffany, if you could go anywhere in the world, all expenses paid, you don't have to worry about anything, where would you go and why?
Ooh. So it definitely goes somewhere tropical, like, I don't know, Bali, Fiji, like somewhere. I would say the Maldives, but I've heard you have to get on the super small plane to like, and I'm just not sure I'm ready for that yet, to go like from the airport to the island. I don't know. But yeah, I would want to go somewhere tropical, somewhere where I could have on my swim attire and, a nice adult beverage in my hand and just lay in the sun and get my pecan tan and just chill and do some yoga on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
I always got to throw a workout in there. Like,
Well, so what that tells me is, when you love the beach and the sun, you enjoy getting into your bathing suit to enjoy those things. And because you enjoy getting in your bathing suit, you also enjoy working out to make sure you look good in that bathing suit. Like, so health is important to you.
yes.
It's important. And to see you light up when you were thinking about that, like your ideal place, like, I just want people to look, like, understand this was just one question that I asked. And look at all of the information I just got from her answering this one question. She told me way more than I asked, which is what the kids will do in class. They will tell me way more than I asked for. But what do I do with that? Well, when they're having a hard day or when they're working on some math and they're just not feeling it, like, I go over there and we talk about it.
Mm. Just like a little brain break.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take that brain break from what is right in front of you right now and have like a mental reset.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. Are you sure you're not a psychologist too? Because you got me with that one. I was very excited to share.
Listen, I have been told that I should have all kind of degrees.
Multifaceted that you are, for sure. Yeah, that's really good. So that's a great question to ask, to just get to know them a little bit more. Like you said, you can read a lot from body language, from tone of voice, from word choices, and then from their actual answer as well. That's awesome. Okay, so the next one in your acronym was the E, which was engaging. So let's dive into that one a little bit.
Wow. So I think we've all had the teachers where we walk in class and sit down. They have the same monotone voice the entire time. They stand in one spot. If they're mad, they're writing on the board the whole time, barely asking us or allowing us to engage. Some of those teachers, they say what they got to say, and then they go sit down at their desk and do whatever they want to do. We don't like people like that. Kids don't like those kind of teachers. And some teachers are like, well, it's not my job for them to like me. And I always say, you're right. However, you might like your job a lot more if they like you.
Mm.
So
Say that part again. Say that part
okay,
again.
okay, all right. It's not your job to be liked. I agree. But you may like your job a whole lot more if the students like you.
That's a whole sermon right there.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So, but like for real, if you want the kids to be engaged with you, you have to give them an opportunity to be interested in you and what you're saying for to be engaging. So, if that's telling them about how your day has gone so far, then do that. I'm not saying that you have to be up in front of the class and like, doing all kind of magic tricks and all that kind of stuff. Honestly, they don't. If you do it, great. If you don't, great. That's not the thing they're looking for. Show some teeth in the front of the room.
Show some
When you're
teeth.
talking, show some teeth when you're talking to them, like joke around with them a little bit. It's really okay. And they appreciate that from you and they'll respond to that.
Yeah, I found that to be true with the youngest kids that I have worked with, and even the graduate students that I teach once a week virtually. I just show up just as Tiffany. I show my sarcastic side. I crack some jokes. I make sure I let them know that while I'm thinking and getting things straightened up on the screen to share with them, that I hum and I might talk to myself and they just have to be okay with that because that's just the way my brain works. But I just, I try to just be who I am and that's just my personality. So I can see for a person who's very introverted and maybe very monotone and just straight laced, how that could be really challenging to be in the front of the classroom and think about cracking a joke or saying something funny or showing some teeth, like you said. So I think in that way, you just have to, I don't know, just dig a little bit deeper. I think if you've gotten to know some of their interests in that first step that you said, then you can make a comment about that in your, just your initial kind of small talk before you get started with the lesson. Especially middle school level, a lot of kids are like on TikTok or, they know all this stuff. So maybe you dive into that world just a little bit, even if that's not your thing. I've worked with really young kids and I've watched on my own some of the cartoons they talk about. I couldn't care less. I've
Right.
gone down the toy aisle to look for the toys that they talk about a lot because I just want to be able to include that in a comment that I make down the line. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. And so to, talk about the person who is more like introverted or that like the monotone is really kind of your thing. Yes, stretch a little bit and at the same time, like make that a part of your first couple of days conversation with the kids because then we get into the A, which is being authentic. So what you don't want to do is go in and try to be this rah-rah person and that's not really who you are because then the kids will recognize that and they won't be interested or engaged
Yeah.
for that either.
And you can't maintain that. Like if that's not you,
Mm-mm.
that's not you got 180 school days to go. You
Mhm.
can't maintain that if it's not you, if it's not who you truly are. And like you said, the kids will see through that and you'll be tired from trying to maintain it. And so just have it, if you're not into social media like the kids in your class are, I'm sure you might hear people talk about stuff. So it's like, what's this about this $1 million baby dance? What is this? Like I heard people talking about it. You can inquire, like we just talked about,
That's
but
good.
inquire in a way that's engaging too. Like, what is all this I'm hearing about XYZ? And I'm sure they will be talking over each other to be the one to educate you on something.
Right.
So maybe you play the role as like, how they have those books like, statistics for dummies, investing for dummies, like social media for dummies. This is just my platform to ask you all the questions about this stuff that may or may not interest me, but I know interests you, and then gives you a chance to share. And then we have this moment of engaging with each other in a very real way. And so then if you kind of like you said, set the tone with that, then maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes is their chance to update you or educate you on the stuff that you aren't up to date on. And then y'all move on with the rest of the class period.
That's good. I completely agree with you. Just taking that little bit of time, being honest, but being comfortable with who you actually are, no matter who else is around, no matter that you're in front of the students, like, and letting them know they respect people who are honest about who they are, whatever that means for you. So if you are like the shyer type, like, kids will respect that if you own it, and have that conversation. Or if you are the rambunctious, loud, I mean, you have kids who are not. Like, there's always a kid who's opposite of how you are in your classroom. So you have to find a way to still let them know you're going to be yourself, but at the same time, also let them know that you want them to be their self too. So you're modeling it first as the leader in the classroom.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like somebody out there that's watching or listening could be thinking, okay, all sounds great, but I got a classroom full of some trifling, bad behaving, cussing kids, and relating to them and engaging with them. That's not, I don't see that, fixing that behavior. But I love what you said was we were planning for this show. You have to navigate what's in your control and then understand what's outside of your control. If you have kids that are coming from, a home where that type of language and behavior is accepted, and, parents or caregivers, like, I don't know what to do with it either. That's your problem for 6.5 hours a day. Then you just have to find a way to navigate what's in your control, and the things that aren't in your control, it's nothing that you can do about it. But in your classroom, you can find ways to be relatable and have that relational component with them and be engaging. Those are things that you can control, because I feel like if we cast our net really wide and try to fix all the things that contribute to the kid who shows up in our classroom at the beginning of the day or the beginning of the class period, that might not get done within 180 days. And you might not see any change at all. You're trying to change things that no one can control. The principal can't do it. The assistant principals can't do it. The social worker at school can't do it. The psychologist, like, it's outside of your control. So these are all really, I think, applicable ways to navigate what is in your control, which is the four walls of your classroom, and then how you are presenting yourself and engaging with the students in your class.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the last thing that is definitely in your control is how you communicate the words that come out of your mouth and the way that you communicate those words. And so we have kids who are in those situations who hear negativity come from adults aimed at them all day long. And sometimes school is the only place where they don't have to deal with that. And so I think just being mindful, of what is your perspective on that? How do you feel about those kids? You know what I mean? Who are in those kind of situations. If you already feel like you can't relate, then you're not going to be able to. Yeah. So, thinking about that, coming from a different perspective, if you know that that's what they're dealing with at home, try to give them the more positive, the opposite side of that, and let them experience it. And eventually, it may not be that year with you, but if enough teachers do it and they get enough of it, eventually it will cause a transformation.
Yeah, this was so good. So we're definitely going to have a part 2, because we still have two more pieces to this amazing acronym that Val came up with. So tonight we did the R and the E, and then next week we'll do the A and the L, which is authentic and linguistics. So be sure to come back next Tuesday, join us for part 2, and we're going to keep sharing all of this goodness with you. So we'll see you next week. Be sure to catch us on the replay on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. So we'll see y'all next week. Bye.